Okay, now it's live. Okay. I was wondering what was going on there. Okay, well, this is something new.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Nick.
Huh?
So, do you want to start with X-Men? We're just talking about X-Men?
Uh, yeah. Okay. This is a live discussion on the new movie, the new X-Men movie, X-Men: Days of Future Past. And we'll try not to get into any spoilers of the movie. Um, but we may spoil the previous X-Men movies. So you haven't seen the previous ones, then you might not watch this. But we don't want to spoil. Okay. Hang on, what's going on? Why am I hearing myself again for? Oh, whoops! I've got. Oh no. Huh? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I've got links everywhere, and now they all seem to play back now. So that's not. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So we won't spoil the new X-Men movie. We'll try not to. We'll probably just get into our details of what we like the most about the new one and stuff like
I'm
that.
ter
About it.
I'm terrible with spoilers, so I'll probably spoil it. I'll try not to though. I'll try not to.
If you spoil, I'm gonna have to like mute your microphone.
Okay,
Like every
all
time
right.
you say something. Oh,
I'll try not to
mute.
spoil.
So yeah. Um. Yeah. So I guess we shall start.
Okay, well, why don't you start? What did you think of the movie?
It was bloody awesome.
Yeah,
um.
yeah.
No, yeah, I really liked the movie. There was something different from the usual X-Men movies. Um, but I'm not like I don't know. I love the original X-Men movies, but I've recently just watched them, so I'm not like yeah. But um, no,
Did you
I
get
thought
the
it was really
feeling?
good.
Did you get the
Hmm?
feeling it felt more like a Marvel movie? They were trying to go for that Marvel model of like the Avengers and stuff.
Uh, I don't know because to me it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. Like it didn't feel
Oh,
like the Avengers or
I
anything like
disagree.
that.
I thought it felt like a Marvel movie, much more than any other
What
X-Men I'd seen.
what what because of the fun or there was more fun to this one than
The
the previous
ensemble,
X-Men movies?
the whole ensemble, like very fun. Yeah, I guess that X-Men started that, but I think this one felt a lot brighter, a lot lighter, a lot
Fun?
took itself a lot less seriously. I think
Yeah.
it shares a lot in common with First Class, but it also shares a lot in common with Bryan Singer's X1, X2 films. But I think most of all, I enjoyed that nearly as much as I enjoyed the Avengers. So I think that's because they have very similar tone more than anything. Mm.
Mm, yeah. Um. Yeah, I can see your point. Definitely, it's a different tone from the previous X-Men movies. Definitely First Class. Do you think that I don't know. I was worried about this movie just because they're having too much, like, too many characters in this whole movie. That was
Well,
my.
yeah, that's always the worry, though. That's the worry, like the Avengers and with the villains. It was a worry with Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2. So there's always that worry, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But here, I think it's worked better than anywhere else because like they have even more characters in this than in the Avengers. So I think this is the best example that there can be many characters in one movie and it works. Because I really don't think anybody is shortchanged in this movie of their moment. I think everybody gets their moment, even the characters in the future, like Magneto and uh, Xavier. They all get their moment in this, and it's just amazing to watch. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with at the moment. Some characters may get like a very tiny
yeah.
moment.
Some get more moments than others. Like obviously, there's a lot bigger focus in this movie on the cast in the 70s. The largest portion of it is set in the 70s with the young Xavier and young Magneto and young Wolverine, and I think that they obviously get much more time to shine, and that they're actually my favorite part of the movie. So I'm glad of that. I'm really glad. that there's a big focus on that time.
Mm. See, is that your problem with Wolverine? Like, is there too much Wolverine?
No, it's definitely not. Especially towards the end. At the beginning, it's sort of like, yeah, it could go either way, but like as it goes on, I think that it's really evenly balanced. It's not so much focused on one hero. Like sometimes the Avengers can be a bit focused on Iron Man, because like that movie, Thor gets shortchanged a lot. Thor's doesn't really get much to do in the Avengers. That's probably one small criticism you can say towards the Avengers. But Tony Stark, Iron Man, gets heaps to do, like loads and loads to do. He's like the savior of the day. But Wolverine's probably got more to do than the other characters, but nothing compared to, say, Iron Man versus, like, compared to Thor. So I think it's a success in that respect.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense with the film story that only Wolverine can be sent back into the past.
Yeah, well,
Cool.
it does actually. In the original comics, I know that it's Kitty Pryde, who's played by Ellen Page. She's got the time travel power, so she goes back. But that doesn't really make much sense because she's not immortal and she doesn't live for like ever like Wolverine does. So, and if she's only like 20 or 30 something in the future and she goes back 40 years, 50 years, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make anyway. So it makes much more sense for it to be Wolverine. It's just a bonus that it's the most popular character in the X-Men franchise, I think.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, and it's gonna be weird to not see Wolverine if he's the star of the X-Men franchise. It's been in every single.
What did you think of Quicksilver?
I don't. Well, I'm curious of the Avengers Quicksilver the most, only because it just felt when Fox announced that the Quicksilver is going to be X-Men Days of Future Past, just like after like a month or two after Marvel announced that Quicksilver will be in the Avengers 2, I felt like they were just like including him in there just to get dibs and get first on Marvel. But like they actually did a good job with Quicksilver. He was funny. He was I don't know, adventurous.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think Quicksilver had a lot to do in his a few scenes. He isn't a focus of the movie. He's only a supporting character, but he steals the scenes he's in. Especially there's one scene in particular that I think you know what I'm talking about. That I think he definitely steals the scene. But yeah, I'm not sure why they put him in the movie. I'm not sure if they put him in just because Marvel is, but I think there's a high bar set for Aaron Taylor Johnson next year.
He'll do good.
Well, after Godzilla, a lot of people weren't a fan of his performance in Godzilla, so
I just felt like he wasn't switched. Shouldn't be the main character of the movie, but he did a good job.
I guess. But again, it's different directors. Joss Whedon's really good at directing actors, so I think it'll be a totally different ballgame.
Definitely. But with the Quicksilver scene, I felt like that they actually wrote the movie before Marvel announced for the Avengers. Just because to me it felt like the movie Quicksilver in his scene was a vital part of the narrative of the film.
Well, yeah, but I can see here that being like very cynically. I can see them rewriting that scene so Quicksilver was important in it. They could have easily have sold it other ways. Like, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, the Magneto could have probably saved that scene as well. Could have probably been the hero in that scene. But yeah, It's
I
just
don't.
I
Well,
want
to
to
me,
think. I want to think that they included him just because they want to include him, and the fact we're getting 2 Quicksilvers in within the space of a year is just coincidence. But I don't know if it is, you know.
fan favorite new favorite superhero, Quicksilver. Um,
Yeah, new favorite X-Men.
um, there was another thing. I just lost it now. Involved. Um, to me, try not to spoil anything. Do you feel like that Quicksilver could have had more to do in this film, just based on his powers
Well, that
alone?
was one thing I was going to say is probably a criticism that could be leveled at it. There's a bit of a plot hole there in terms of
Yeah,
if
and now
Quicksilver.
that
It,
now
there's a lot of
now
plot
that
holes in that movie, guys. There's a
now that
lot
I've
of
said
plot holes.
now that I've said that, it feels like that he was just in the film, just sandwiched in the film. So
Yeah, no, I don't
after
think he was. He doesn't feel disjointed. I think he was put in there quite expertly. Even if he was put in there in retrospect, I think he was woven in there quite well. But he does leave the scene quite abruptly, I think, without much explanation. And I know he's not the focus. Again, they will probably wanted to return focus to the characters of Xavier, McAvoy's Xavier, and Fassbender's Magneto. But yeah, there's not really an explanation as to why he doesn't continue on as one of the main cast, the main group, instead of just a supporting player. And his powers would have come in handy wherever he went, basically. So
yeah,
plot
definitely.
holes. There's lots of plot holes, especially in the future and stuff. So that's just one of them. And I don't think a plot hole is a criticism against a movie because every movie has plot holes, and you can't really complain about that.
Yeah, I
Especially when you
try
get
not to
such great action. Just this movie has action and action. It's just absolutely classic blockbuster action.
Well, I wouldn't say action, action, action. The movie does slow down for a bit, but I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, it is an action film, so there's a lot of action.
Oh, come on, that climax with the action between the future and the past. I'm not going to spoil anything, but those scenes at the end, they're awe-inspiring to watch. Such good special
I'm not
effects.
saying anything bad about them. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, and like the way that movie ended, like, everything it did that affected all the previous films. You know, that the way that ended is just left me with smiles. You know, I mean, I've seen all the other X-Men films. You haven't, have you?
No, I've only seen the good ones.
No, no, I've seen all of the films, so I know how pleased the ending of this movie will make X-Men fans who don't like X-Men: The Last Stand, or to some extent Origins. So yeah, I just thought that was awesome. Really, X-Men. Actually, I said it in my review, but I think X-Men: Days of Future Past is in my top 3 favorite superhero films of all time. Yeah, I liked it that much. I gave it the same score as Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Same.
So yeah, so I think it is equal to that movie nearly, if
Yeah.
yeah, if not. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. What about the post-credits scene?
Should we talk about that?
Yeah, that's not a spoiler. We just won't
It's
talk about what the post-credits scene is, but we'll talk about that there is a post-credits scene.
Yeah, there's a post-credit scene.
Yeah, there is a
End of
post-credits
discussion.
scene. It does get you pretty excited, hey. But I do get the feeling that post-credit scene is a little bit more disjointed than Marvel Studios to the main film.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with the Avengers, the post-credit scene with Thanos, that felt connected to the movie, didn't it? To the movie you just watched. Thanos was connected to the Avengers, the events of the Avengers. Whereas this post-credit scene is very detached from the past. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, but Hmm. But
Um,
definitely, they're getting more and more vague in terms of comic book lore. Like they're all really deep in comic book lore. These post-credits scenes now, like for the last few years, they've just been. You have to go up on Wikipedia afterwards and say, "What's this about? What's this about?" You know. So yeah,
yeah. Um, well,
it's
I
like
don't know.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
The post the post credit scene wasn't exciting just because I'm not into the whole X-Men universe, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
It was cool
but
seeing it.
it was a cool scene anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after Days of Future Past, you didn't need a post-credit scene to want more, did you?
No, it should have just ended there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else?
um, not that I can think of.
What did you think of Bryan Singer's direction? Because you've seen the first two X-Men. What did you think
Yeah,
of Bryan Singer's direction? Do you think compared to First Class? You've seen First Class too, haven't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the movie that got me into the
So,
X-Men
yeah.
universe.
So, what do you think of how this movie feels compared to First Class? Does it
Um,
feel similar, or does it
yeah,
feel too much
there's a
like X-Men
different
Next Gen?
there is a different tone with First Class. First Class took it more serious.
I,
Which
I, I,
they did had a
I,
couple of light moments with the 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 mutants at the school, but it really took itself as a serious film. Well, this
I
one
think
had more light moments.
I think First Class was much more serious. It was a character story, like it was about the characters.
Yeah,
Whereas Days of Future Past is a really big. It's got some of that in it, but it's really big action, spectacle, blockbuster, plot-driven rather than character-driven. Um, so the character growth is driven through the plot rather than vice versa, in which the plot in First Class is driven by the characters. I think that it works though because it gives people something different, something they haven't seen in a while for the X-Men series. I think that's what we get with Days of Future Past, and I think Bryan Singer was the perfect person to bring back to direct it. Mm.
mm, yeah, and they definitely they brought back the First Class director as well as a producer to probably help him as well.
Yeah, it
Finding
probably
that.
helped because I think that this does, as I said in my review, I said this feels like a link that joins uh, X-Men 1 and 2
It's
to
very cool.
First Class. It feels like it joins them stylistically.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
guess we would have to get to linking them up, I guess, eventually. I know at the end of First Class sort of hinted at linking a little bit to the original films. But yeah.
what did you think
So,
of the villains in
hmm?
Days of Future Past? Do you think that the villains were very strong? Villains slash the villain.
um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
Sentinels, Oliver
I,
Trask. Uh, it was more. I think this is, if you're going to criticize something about Days of Future Past, it's probably more to do with the villain. Although Peter Dinklage plays Oliver Trask like excellently, like he plays everybody excellently though. So, but I do think Oliver Trask had very few scenes for the main villain of this film, don't you think?
uh, yeah, but the more it was more focused on what's happening with the future and stuff like that. So that sort of
Yeah, well,
decreased heat because of the future.
the real villains are the mutants themselves. Like every single X-Men film, nearly every single X-Men film, except for maybe the Wolverine films, has some sort of inner conflict within the X-Men teams, and yeah, so it generally revolves around uh, a conflict of interests over the fate of the humans, and generally has Professor X on the good side. But I think there's also deeper character conflicts than that. I think one of the most fascinating in Days of Future Past is the conflict between the personal conflict between Professor X and Magneto. So of what happened at the end of First Class. So there's still a little bit of hate over that, even though it's like 10 years later. So.
Well, how? Yeah, well, I'm not going to
I think
spoil
that's the main focus, and even Mystique's characterization here. There's still some sort of inner conflict going on in her about what side she's on. So.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I didn't really get about First Class. How her transition from
it was.
It felt, I don't know, it just felt
it was backed on. It shouldn't have been like that. It should have been left with Professor X. She should have stayed with Professor X. She basically ditched him at the end of First Class.
I know.
First Class. At the end of First Class, basically just ditches Professor X just because I don't know, she has a crush on Magneto. That's basically it. And he just lost his spine, his ability to walk.
Right? That was like the worst thing. It's when you should be there for him, not ditching your friend.
I think they should have just left Mystique with Charles at the end of First Class and made it over a few movies to develop how she turns towards Magneto's side.
Or they could have just left it, and then since this does take 10 years in the future, we could 10 years over time.
Fill in the gap.
We could have
never really a good idea. We're supposed to, with Days of Future Past, we're supposed to fill in the gap between the post-credit scene of the Wolverine, which has.
I've heard about that, and obviously no one doesn't acknowledge it at all.
It had Professor X and Magneto meet Wolverine at a modern airport that looked like it was set in the present time, and then the future of Days of Future Past is set at least 10 years later. So there's some 10-year gap there that we've got to fill in. And even before that, how did Professor X come back to life after X-Men Last Stand?
That's what people.
It doesn't really explain that. But then again, that's a plot hole, and we're not going to worry about plot hole.
And what you just said about the whole 10 years, we probably won't. I'm getting spoiled territory. I'm not going to say anything. I'll discuss to you after the video.
Because you've just got see the movie and then you can talk about it.
You've just got me an interesting question in my head now about it. But yeah, apparently in Wolverine, people keep saying this too about that in the Wolverine's post-credits that he had claws, but it's not his usual
bone
claws. Yeah.
He had bone claws still. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it makes sense in the film.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. But again, there's 10 years elapsing, so he must have had...
Or was that in the past?
He had adamantium in his skeleton, though. It was just his claws. In Wolverine, he loses the adamantium on his claws, but he has it everywhere else. It's just on his claws. So Magneto could have just taken some out of the rest of his body and put it on his claws. Just extra power to fight the Sentinels or something.
But it's like that. But his usual claws are in the film, so in the future settings, so it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, plot holes. There's lots of plot holes, guys. Just enjoy the movie. Forget plot holes, okay? Time travel. It's time travel. There's always plot holes. Okay. You can't. I don't think I've ever seen a time travel movie that doesn't have plot holes. Honestly.
Every time travel movie's got plot holes everywhere. Especially Looper. People keep still criticizing what could have been not stopped or something in the film. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's always that. There's like, oh, if you can time travel, why don't you go back and stop that or stop that and stop that? And then if you have to explain everything, it makes no sense because then you can I don't know. Doctor Who has this thing where.
Then the movie would be a lecture of
Yeah,
the movie would be a lecture of what not to do, what to do in time travel. And
well, see, as I was saying, Doctor Who has this thing of fixed points. So if you go back in time and try to change something that's important, you can't because it's fixed in time, and no matter what you do, it's always going to turn out that way. So Days of Future Past is kind of the opposite of that, but that just creates even more problems in terms of plot holes. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember Back to the Future sort of fixed that part where there was too many different
But still, what
presidents
happened
and
in
just
Back to
saves
the
an alternate
Future?
timeline.
In
Hmm?
Back to the Future, what
Yeah.
happens if he was erased and he didn't get to do it to save the day in time? What happens if he ended up getting erased? How would he have been able to go back and interfere to do the timeline if he was never born to start with? Plot hole. There we go.
Oh. I don't know. A new one,
Alright.
the second one, well,
Yeah, I haven't seen the second
one.
one. I haven't seen the second one. I will see. I need to see the second one, but the first one. Anyway, so I think we've pretty much covered everything with X-Men.
Without spoiling anything.
Yeah, you better stop before I do spoil anything. But yeah, no, great movie. I highly recommend seeing it. I think that's the best way to finish. Highly recommend seeing it. If you like superhero movies, if you like X-Men movies, if you like blockbusters, basically if you like movies, go see X-Men: Days of Future Past. I think.
But mainly superhero films. So,
Oh yeah.
This movie is probably the best movie in theaters right now, so people should check it out.
Yeah. Okay.
And in 3D, what did you thought about the 3D of the film?
It's like 3D is always kind of hit or miss, and ironically, the only live-action films I think that do post-converted for 3D very well are the Transformers films.
Are they post-converted?
I
I thought they were filmed with 3D cameras.
What, Transformers?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why they're so good. I don't know. Well, you get Avatar, and you get your avatars, and you get gravities, which are filmed in 3D, and they're great. But ones like this, post-converted, it's never
too bad.
They should just stop doing it.
Yeah, they should stop doing post-converted 3D. But I thought it wasn't. Hello. Hello.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
My video feed just cut off. Where was I going at? But I thought this was a lot better than the Godzilla, which was post-converted 3D. So.
Yeah, I guess it
felt like it was stuff, it was coming out.
It's pointless because your eye gets trained to be used to 3D by about 10 minutes in. By the time you're about 10 minutes in the movie, you forget it's in 3D and you just watch the movie. That's what I find anyway. So if you're going to pay that extra money for the 3D, you really just want to see that awesome opening thing before the movie starts. It's like 3, 2, 1, and it's all in 3D. It's like extreme sound, extreme cinema.
The Dolby Digital 3D screen.
Which is almost worth the extra $2.
Yeah. The movies, when you see the movie, the trailers are always the best thing in 3D, and then when you see the movie, it feels like is it the same 3D that we're using for the trailers, or I don't know. That's just me.
I don't know. Anyway.
Well, they're probably just showing off the best things in 3D just for the sake of the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this it? Is that the end?
That's it. Yeah. So what's the next movie we're seeing? Million Ways to Die in the West. We're going to do a chat on that as well.
I guess so.
Maybe.
What would you want?
Every film you decide.
Together,
how successful this was. I hope everybody watching at home enjoyed it.
It says we've got one viewer, but I think that's you.
I don't think our chat does anywhere near the justice to the movie, because no chat could do the justice to that movie because it's just an amazing movie. So just go and see it, and yeah.
Yeah, let's go see it. X-Men: Days of Future Past, awesome movie. Yeah. So what did you thought of this, Nick? Did you thought this whole thing, should we keep doing this, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I just thought of it because it saves me from editing videos now, so I would just post on YouTube after I finish this. So.
So are we finishing now?
Yeah, we'll finish it. yeah, that's it for today. If you want to check out our movie reviews or news and other stuff, uh, give us a like at facebook.com/everythingfilm, and you can follow us on Twitter at everythingfilm1, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you're probably watching right now, at Everything Film. So yeah, that's it for the movie discussion of X-Men: Days of Future Past with Nick, and we'll do more future movie chats of other movies probably next month. Probably like films I know we'll probably definitely do one like How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yes, definitely How to Train Your Dragon 2.
See, I knew it. I knew it. You love the How to Train Your Dragon movies. So okay, that's it. So thanks for joining. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, and yeah, bye for now.
Bye.